but there's a ton of opportunity to flip those buildings and make a ton of money, which I'll show you a quick example at the end of this video. What's up, fruitful investors? In today's video, I want to talk about how to buy your first multifamily property. Now, as I always say, multifamily is a completely different than single family or even small multifamily properties like duplex, triplex, fourplex. In this video, I'm talking about 6 or more units, so commercial multifamily properties. And the number one thing we want to know before even stepping foot into this space is to find an area that's growing. Now, this is pretty much true advice for any niche in real estate you're buying, but it's especially true when you're buying bigger multifamily properties. You want to be buying an area that has a future. Now, I have many videos talking about what makes an area good, how to find a good area, but as I always lay out very quick, I'm going to show you what you basically want to look for before investing in an area. Number one, you want to be buying in an area that has GDP growth. When we have GDP growth in a region, this leads to job growth. Now, why is that important? We want our tenants to have jobs and to pay our rent. So we want to be in an area that has diverse industries. And when we see job growth in an area, we see increased demand on rentals. Now, why do we see that? Because when people transfer for work, they don't necessarily want to buy an area or buy in an area that they don't really know. They want to live in an area for a year or two, get to know the ins and outs of the neighborhoods or the city, and then they're going to buy. So that when we see job growth in an area, there's an increase in rental demands, and even after that, there's an increase in real estate prices because lots of people are flooding to the area. We're seeing a lot of immigration and net migration to a city, and these are kind of the nerdy things that you want to look for before buying a multifamily property, okay? The next thing we want to know is, what is your budget? Once you found a city or an area you want to invest in, what is your budget? Is it 800,000, a million, 1.5 million, 2 million? This will help you narrow where you're gonna spend most of your time focusing for properties. And we don't wanna waste anybody's time, especially your realtor, which I'll get to in a second. But once you know where you're gonna invest, you wanna meet with a mortgage broker who specializes with investors. This is very important when you're dealing with multifamily. This isn't the the house, the white picket fence. We're dealing with big business here. So get everything lined up before you even take action, and you want to meet with your mortgage broker to find out what you can qualify for. How much capital do you have? What is it going to cost? What is the expectation of what your the entire purchase is going to cost you? Once you know these, then you can start actually looking for properties and acting quickly when you find something. The third thing you want to do before buying multifamily properties is understanding our clientele. So once we know our budget and where we're going to buy, now it really matters on which type of tenant profile do you want. Do you want a low-end tenant? Do you want a high-end tenant? These are completely different properties within multifamily properties because a high-end tenant is going to be in an A location. So you're going to be buying an A building. It's going to be a very low cap rate, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And you're not really going to make that much money on these types of properties in the short term because the expenses and the rents won't really, leave a lot of room for profit. However, it will be a very boring and predictable multifamily property. So if you want to kick your feet up, have a high-end tenant, granite countertops, a nice common area, elevators, things like this, then you're gonna be looking for a high-end tenant. If you want a low-end tenant, you're gonna be looking for the older, more beat-up properties, but there's a ton of opportunity to flip those buildings and make a ton of money, which I'll show you a quick example at the end of this video because it's very powerful when you buy kind of a C building in a B area and you bring it up to the B area building. You can make a ton of money there. So it really depends on which route you want to take in real estate. Some people just want a very boring, easy, long-term building with high-end tenants that they can just kick their feet up for the next 10, 20 years and they'll make a ton of money that way. Some of us want to flip buildings and make more short-term money and long-term money as well. But this area of real estate takes even more expertise and more knowledge. The next step you want to figure out is to find a specialized realtor. This will be the most important team member on your team. I'm not being biased because I am a real estate investor or a real estate agent specializing with investors here in Kitchener-Waterloo in multifamily properties. But it is the truth. This is the most important team member you're gonna have because your realtor is gonna know the area, and most importantly, they're gonna be investors themselves, and they're gonna know how to guide you and coach you through your investment purchase. It is so important not to use an everyday Joe realtor when buying multifamily properties. The rules are completely different. The financing rules are different. The valuation rules are different. We don't value multifamily buildings, not even close to the same way we value a home, which is based on comparables, comparable properties, the work that was done, the cosmetics, the floors, the paint, the trim. All that really doesn't matter in multifamily. It's all about income and money and cap rates, and your realtor is gonna know exactly how these operate, and they're able to coach you through your purchase. Because remember, when you're buying multifamily properties and you're using a specialized realtor, they're not only your realtor. They're not only gonna help you with the purchase and sale agreement, help you get the offer and negotiate the deal. They're really your consultant or your coach to guide you through this purchase and this whole process of owning multifamily. This is a much longer term process than just buying a single family home. Last but not least, your last step is to figure out, do you want to buy at a low cap rate or high cap rate, which again goes back to your clientele. Like I said, if you want to buy a turnkey property, you're going to be buying at a low cap rate. So a low cap rate here in Kitchener-Waterloo for a turnkey building is between 4.5% cap rate. These are A buildings in A areas with A tenants. You literally buy it, it's turnkey, you just take over it and you just keep going with the same management or the same strategies they were using. It's already working well. You're just gonna continue to ride that wave for the long term, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So these are really long-term and boring buildings. When you buy at a high cap rate, it generally means you're buying more of a piece of shit. So you're gonna buy a building that is outdated, has low quality tenants or way undervalued rents. So the tenants that are living there have been living there for maybe 10, 15 years and their rents are so outdated, which is why the property is at a discount, because remember, multifamily properties are all about income when it comes to valuation. So if you're buying at a high cap rate, it generally means the building is mismanaged or it's old or it's just beat up and the tenant quality is very low. So which type of tenant or building style do you want? Very important. Let me show you an example of the high cap rate, because when we're doing multifamily properties, this might sound weird, but we want to buy high and sell low. So it's completely different from the buy low, sell high. Multifamily, again, the rules are different. It flips. We want to buy at a high cap rate, increase the income, and sell it later at a low cap rate. We may actually make way more money doing that. Now, let me show you an example. Let's say we have a 10-plex building, so a 10-unit building, and the net operating income is $50,000 a year. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a ton of videos on this on my channel. You can check out how to sell a property or a multifamily building for top dollar, how to value a building. I have a ton of those videos so you can see what I'm talking about by the net operating income and how that works. So let's say we have a $50,000 net operating income and the cap rate in this area is 5.5. So again, this is kind of like a B minus area in Kitchener-Waterloo is what classifies a B minus area. The value of this building, based on the numbers, because it's all about numbers when it comes to valuation, so make sure I get this number right. So if we have a $50,000 net operating income at a 5.5% cap rate, this building is worth $909,090. So that's how we value multifamily building, okay? It's straight business. So let's say we want to raise the rents. As I said, I have a ton of videos on this. We can do this by putting in dishwashers in the unit. We can pay tenants to leave that are their rent is way too low and it has been way too low for so many years. We can pay them to leave, renovate the unit completely, and then get a much higher rent to raise that net operating income. Your sole purpose as a multifamily investor is to raise that NOI to make money. That's what it's all about. You want to raise the rents because that's going to put a ton of money in your pocket. So if we were to raise this NOI on the same building to $65,000 a year, so an extra $15,000 a year in income, the cap rate doesn't change. The area hasn't changed, so the cap rate doesn't change. This is pretty well how multifamily works. So the cap rate is still 5.5%. The new value of this building, thanks to the income we just raised, make sure I get this right again, is $1,181,080 $810 bucks. So we raised the value of the building almost by like 170. I don't know what that is. You have to do the exact math. 170, 180 grand just from raising the income. $15,000 a year. We jacked up the value of the building by a lot. Now I do a more in-depth detail analysis of this type of process in my videos on my channel, so you can see that. But I just want to show you the power of buying at a high cap rate and selling it later at a lower cap rate. Okay, so because when we buy a building and it's at a 5.5, when we're done with it, with this income, we're actually gonna be at a much higher cap rate for our purchase, but we still wanna sell it later at the same cap rate. If I'm getting a little advanced or too ahead of you, again, watch those videos on my channel. It goes into more detail on how this works and why you wanna make this your main strategy when buying more of an older or beat up multifamily property. So that's the video. If you learned anything, please click like right below, right here. And to find out about my 12 free video course, which you can get access to right away, you can get access to that course right below in the description. Get free access to that. If you want to find out about my real estate investing apprenticeship program, about how I can be your one-on-one coach and we can buy properties together, you can find out more about that right about here. I will see you in the next video.